Hello, welcome and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Youth Have a Voice podcast. If you're new here, my name is Feolami Awe-Joseph. I'm the host of this podcast, and I'm really excited to be here with you all today because we've come to the final episode of season 2 of the Youth Have a Voice podcast. This season has been phenomenal from the solo episodes I've been able to have with you guys to the exceptional guests we've had throughout the season from different sectors, from education to career development to climate change to engineering. There have just been so many amazing guests to sustainability, recycling. It's just been an amazing season, and I'm so excited for how you all have either started joining the journey for those who are going to be listening to it in the future and those who've been there from day one to listen in, to watch, and just to be get inspired and see how young people generally do have a voice and are making sure that their voice is making a change in their environment and in their communities. As we wrap up today's season and as we wrap up this episode, which is the final episode for this season, something that has been on my mind is how sometimes we get stuck in our comfort zone because we're already used to it. So, in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about how we sometimes get trapped in comfort and how comfort can sometimes be the biggest enemy for our growth. And I will start off by using the Youth Have a Voice podcast as an example. When I started recording, or when I started the structure for season 2 in January of 2025, it was part of the goals I had set in 2025. Well, 2024 December to do in 2025, that season 2 will officially be launched. And I remember then that it was like, okay, I did season 1, season 1 was successful. And Global Citizen even reached out to me. Then Global Citizen hadn't even reached out to me, but my podcast was strong enough for an international organization say, you know what, we would like to share your story with other people, we would like to share the work you're doing. But at that point in time, I didn't know that it was that big or it had gotten that much attention. I was just doing my own thing. And I remember I had already started the structure. And then one thing that I usually always think of is how am I going to find guests? How am I going to reach out to guests? But the power of social media makes this so much easier. Through social media, you get to see the work that people are doing, the amazing work people are doing, and sometimes they have little to no followers. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about Beauty Have a Voice podcast because you discover so many people who are in different sectors, different industries, who are just making an impact and making a difference in the lives of their community and people around them and the field that they work in. So I remember I was a bit comfortable. At first, I had started the structure. I didn't really know how to find guests. And when I eventually did find guests, one of the main problems I had was finding a time and date that works for them. There's a whole process that goes through creating the episodes for the Youth and Influence podcast from creating the structure. So I usually have what I would do as a mini theme of what sectors or what fields do I want to look at this year. And then from there, I would then start looking for people. Maybe I could have a list of people that maybe I would want to reach out to. Sometimes I even find people on social media and I just directly reach out to them and say, I found your work. This is what I do. I would love to have you on as a guest on my podcast. And if you're interested, please let me know. We could schedule a date, a time, etc, etc. And usually if that's successful, sometimes some people even show their interest. And then it gets to a point where it feels like you're bothering them and then you just back off. You're like, um, okay, if you're not available this time, that's fine. I tried my luck and if you're not available, that's also fine. And for this season, that was actually something that happened quite a number of times. Even season 1, if I look back, in season 1, I had quite a number of guests that I reached out to. Some people would just blank me. They would blank me. They wouldn't even respond to my messages. But I think this year, almost everyone I reached out to had responded. But some of the problems I had with finding the time for guests this season was that they would even respond, but then maybe because of the clash in schedule or clash in times or dates, they are now unavailable. Or we would even schedule a date and a time, and then when it's time for the interview, they wouldn't show up. Or they would just mention that sorry, they can't do it at this time. So these are some of the setbacks I had when I had started the planning and structure for season 2 this year. But nonetheless, I was still able to push forward. But there was a point in time when I was creating the structure for season 2 where it felt like that wasn't going to be able to be possible because I remember I had filmed the first episode for season 2 in August, a few days after my birthday. And I think I was meant to actually have maybe 3 or 4 episodes filmed that same month or in September. I think for the whole month, I didn't do anything because people had reached out to, they didn't get back to me, or they had told me that they would get back to me. And I was following up, and it got to a point I was like, I don't want to feel like, because I don't even know you personally. So I didn't want to feel like I am harassing this person or I'm harassing these people. So I think part of that just made everything go on a standstill for a while. So time I'd also gotten sick in 2025. And sometimes when you get sick, it really just disorientates your entire structure and being. And you're like, okay, now that I am better, where do I go from here? What are the next steps so I can continue working towards whatever goal I wanted to have? And these are just things that are normal for people. Going back to what I mentioned about being comfortable and just staying stagnant in where you are, if I hadn't started season 2 in 2025, now running into 2026, no one may have even mentioned anything. You're like, okay, maybe I could have procrastinated. Procrastination is really one of the biggest things when it comes to being comfortable in where you are, just staying stagnant. I could have procrastinated and said, okay, that episode I filmed in August, when I am ready, and when I say ready in quotes, you're never actually ready for anything. You have to be the one to mentally prepare yourself to be able to do things. So if I procrastinated and said, when I am mentally ready, I will start season 2, maybe it'll have been 2026, would have seen the first episode of the Youth Have a Voice podcast. And it's not going to be 2026. We're seeing the wrap up of the Youth Have a Voice podcast season 2. So when we're overly comfortable as human beings, we eventually become stagnant and it eventually leads to what I would refer to as mediocrity. So I think that as human beings, we naturally crave stability and comfort can quickly turn into stagnation. So let's use losing weight as an example. Just someone who has worked towards losing weight and they were able to get to 50% of their goal. They're happy they're able to get it to 50% of their goal. They are working hard and they're excited because the momentum is still there. But then because they're already at 50% of your goal, you begin to think to yourself, okay, I have gotten this far. Maybe I can try out some of the old habits I had before I'd even gotten to that aspect. Using this as an example, they go back to not exercising, they go back to eating anyhow, they go back to not eating healthy, and before you know it, that goal that they had begins to backslide. The thing with I'm using weight loss as an example, um weight as an example because it's something that's quite visible when it comes to being stagnant. It may be a gradual process. For some people, it may be a very detailed process. But then the thing is that you eventually begin to see, oh, my clothes are beginning to fit more structured, or rather fit tighter. They are not as loose as they were before. They begin to think, okay, maybe I need to change my wardrobe, and then you're back to square one. So, what am I trying to say? When it comes to comfort and when it comes to having something to do, if you don't work towards that thing, and if you just keep on staying where you were at the beginning, you begin to become stagnant, and eventually that stagnation becomes irrelevant at the end of the day. Also, mediocrity often doesn't make us feel bad. Sometimes you just feel fine that everything's just gonna be okay. So you're not really feeling uncomfortable about something. Or sometimes you may just think to yourself that this thing, no, maybe I should actually work on it, and you don't actually do anything about it. It's just a thought at the back of your mind lingering that maybe I should be doing something to improve my life, or maybe I should be working on this goal I had set for myself, and then you're not actually doing anything towards that goal. It's just a thought, and it's will constantly remain a thought because you're not really feeling bad because your life is actually okay, it's normal, but you're not really changing anything about your life. So this is where it becomes dangerous because you're not actually in a bad place, but you're not in the best place you could actually be. Because I do think that even with social media, we as human beings, a lot of us are not where we actually should have been at that point in time because there's so much work and there's so many things that we could actually do, but we are not where we should have been because social media just makes us think that everything is okay, or you just think maybe it's not my time or it's not my turn. And you keep on saying that, but you're not actually doing anything to work towards what could make it your time or your turn. So I think also as human, one of the main things that makes us stay comfortable, and a lot of us don't like discomfort because as people, you actually need to become uncomfortable to be able to move and to be able to grow out of where you want to be. So if you're hungry for something, maybe you may need to strip yourself off of the comfort you may have usually had in certain aspects because you know what your end goal is and you know where you want to be able to get to. So, for example, if maybe you're trying to get better grades in school, you're thinking to yourself, do I need to stay up longer to study so I can actually get to this point in time? Or if maybe you're trying to look for a job, am I going to practice more? So you can't just stay in the same spot. You need to grow out of that spot so you can be more uncomfortable and you can now finally get to the end results you want to do. So I think one of the main reasons why sometimes we are uncomfortable or we stay in our comforts as human beings because we are scared of change and we're scared of failure. A lot of people are afraid of what's next in life. The fear of change is something that a lot of people have because the fear of the unknown, what's going to happen next? If I'm able to even do this, what is the next step for me? And because of that thoughts in your mind in the first place, you end up not doing anything at all. And then there's also the fear of failure. If I do this thing, I'm not successful and I'm doing it in the public eye, people are going to laugh at me. This is a thought that a lot of people have. Maybe someone wants to start social media and they're thinking to themselves, I don't have a good phone. I don't have the resources that I wanted to use. I don't like the way I look. And you're just afraid that maybe you would flop because either maybe you're thinking to yourself, I don't even have followers. No one has followers for anything when they start off. But if you don't start, you're never going to even know where you can get to or who can even see what you are aspiring to do or who can even help you to improve the project that you're working on. So two things, the fear of change and the fear of failure. Those are some of the one of the two main reasons why people settle and are just staying in the comfort. Also, there's the fear of judgment. We put too much opinions of ourselves for other people to decide. Because why is someone judging you? I mean, is their life perfect? No one's life is perfect. You can't be judging somebody's life when you haven't even gotten to where you're supposed to be as a human being. And sometimes people that we let judge our lives, many times they're not even where we want to be as humans. For example, imagine someone who you don't would never even want to have anything. So sometimes you may look at somebody and like, this isn't the kind of life I want for myself. But that same person is who you're letting judge your every action and your every being. So the fear of judgment also is one problem that people have when it comes to staying comfortable or just being mediocre in the space that they are. So don't let people judge you. No one has any right to be judging you. I mean, if they can do it, they should do it themselves because it takes a lot of courage to come out to do something even if it's something that one is saturated or two, you're the first person doing it, regardless of either it's oversaturated or you're the first person doing it. It takes a lot of courage to start something. It takes a lot of courage to do something. So no one should ever judge you for your braveness and your courageousness because if they can do it, they should do it themselves and show you, okay, you can even take tips from them. So it's no longer a point of judgment, it's a point of learning that, okay, this person was able to do it. Maybe I could try it this way. Maybe I could improve mine this way. And it's not also from a point of judgment, that will now become a point of improvement because you're looking at what they have done. But then if they haven't done it, they have no right to be judging you. A lot of people are so comfortable with judging people and they don't even know the work it takes towards getting to a certain place or the work it takes towards becoming better or improving yourself. So these are some of the reasons why people stay stagnant. Also, lack of confidence is another one. People lack confidence. With social media, it's so easy for people to think that I think this also still interlinked with the fear of judgment. What are people going to say? What would they say? What would they say? What would they say? But then just think about what do I want to see as the end result? If I am able to do this thing successfully, what am I hoping to gain from getting this done? Once you remember your why and why you started, confidence is something that is built over time. When you start at first, which is why it's important to just begin things and not think about what other people are saying about it. Because when you start at first, you will be rusty. No one starts off perfect. There's no one that can ever start off anything perfect. Even there's sometimes that you may do something or you may create something and it's not the way you would have actually wanted it to be. It doesn't matter, just post that thing. So this is for people that maybe want to do social media or content. It's not the way you want it to be, but just post it. Because when you begin to psychoanalyze everything and overanalyze everything, you never get anything done because you're just thinking that this is the way I wanted it to be. It could have been so much better. It could have been so much better. It could have been so much better. But then you're just staying comfortable and then you just keep on thinking it could have been so much better. But are you actually doing anything to keep on saying that, okay, I've done this, I've put this out. The next one, I'm going to improve on the way it looks. The next one, I'm going to make sure it looks better. I'm going to keep on improving on it. So these are just things that are important when it comes to the coming out of your comfort zone and trying to grow and develop as a human being. And also, one thing that we need to know is that the person you are now is not the person you were 2 years ago. The person you are now is not the person you were 5 years ago. Sometimes people think that their life isn't changing, but I mean, even with the things that happen in the world, there's no way that your life is not changing. Whether it's a mental growth or a physical growth or an emotional growth, or everything about your life eventually changes. So it's important that you're actually taking active steps to be part of the proper evolution so that you don't become like the dinosaurs and you end up getting extinct because you're not actually developing things that can help you become the best version of yourself. So evolution happens each time, and as the way seasons change in different countries, we're also meant to grow and we're also meant to evolve and change and develop as people. Sometimes evolution doesn't mean that you have to do more, 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 more. Sometimes it's just about this thing I'm doing now. How can I become better with this thing? How can I grow as a person? How can I do it differently to make sure that it's serving me better, it's serving others better? So as a young person, these are things that are important. So evolution is very important as a young person, as well as growth. Growth is also very important as a young person. Now we're going to talk about signs that you're getting too comfortable and signs that you need to come out of your comfort zone and to grow. The first sign is that you don't set goals at all, or you stop setting goals because you think you've already gotten to your peak. There's no peak in life. You must keep on evolving, you must keep on growing because things are constantly changing. I mean, look at technology from the early 2000s, 2010 to now, completely different. In my household, I grew up in the mix of, because I'm early 2000s Gen Z, I grew up in the mix of going outside and early modern technology. But looking at that then, looking at that now, completely different things. I mean, now babies are born with technology shoved in their faces, even though that's another conversation we could have for another day. But the way and the mindset of even children from now and the mindset of children then, completely different things. So if you keep on staying stagnant, you're never going to even know how to keep on growing and keep on developing. So if you don't set goals for yourself, that's one sign that you're getting too comfortable with the way things are. Another sign is that you avoid challenges because you fear discomfort. Someone challenges you to do something, you're like, I can't do it. Let me ask someone else to do it. Or no, I'm not available. So you always constantly keep on making excuses because, and you avoid challenges because you are afraid of being uncomfortable. You don't like being uncomfortable. Another one is you keep on repeating the same patterns without progress. So imagine looking at, so for example, I have mentioned in episodes I record myself a lot, I journal a lot. Imagine looking at your journal from last year, or maybe using Snapchat as an example. I usually take pictures of things on Snapchat so that I like the way it shows you this happened 2 years ago, this happened 3 years ago. Imagine looking at that and everything is the same, nothing has changed. Maybe your mindset has changed, but nothing is actually changing in your day-to-day routine. You just realize day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out, nothing is changing. You're constantly the same. So if your routine is the same, nothing is developing, you're not changing anything, there's no growth, this means that you're becoming too comfortable. Another one is that you seem busy. If people look at you on the outside, you look like you're generally a very busy person, but you're not actually growing because if you evaluate yourself, which is why it's important as people to be honest with ourselves, even if no one is honest with you, or even if you are dishonest to other people, it's important to know yourself. This thing I'm doing, no one knows you better than you. This thing I'm doing, am I actually growing or am I just deceiving myself and making people think I'm growing to the point you begin to lie to yourself? Because you know how you are as a person. You know if you're actually changing and growing and developing. So no one can come and bullshit you and tell you that you are doing this well for yourself. You know the truth if that is true or not. So if you know internally that you are busy but you're not growing and you're not actually doing anything different, then that could also be a sign that you are becoming too comfortable. So one way to get out of this progress is to maybe change your circle or change the things or the people you hang out around. Sometimes one thing that you just need to grow as a person is being around people that are also willing to grow as people, because when you have friends or when you have family members or when you just have people around you that just look like they have their life sorted out and they have their things together, it just generally motivates you as a person that, okay, if this person can do it, I also want to try it out. I want to also see if I can do better. Maybe just by hearing some people's conversations, you're like, this thing sounds like a good idea, which is why it's important. Even social media, this thing, a phone, this phone can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. It can be something to elevate you or something to bring you to the ground. But with phones, when you're on social media, it's better to have a balance of things. So even if you are interested in entertainment, I remember my boss was telling me that a lot of the things that we spend so much of our time on, it's actually useless, because why are we so invested in what XYZ celebrity is doing with their life? Okay, this person got married, and so has it changed anything in your life? So she was basically just telling me that we spend so much time investing in things that bring no contribution to us, or sometimes even arguing about other people's lives. Why are you arguing about people's lives? For example, reality TV show. Some people spend so much time arguing, fighting, and those people, they're making their money, they're getting their bag, they are working towards goals, they're working towards achievements, and you are spending hours of your time fighting on social media. Nothing is actually changing in your life, oh, but you have spent your time dedicated that you're going to argue with this person on social media about this from a TV show or a movie, reality TV show. Now, these things are not bad. Let me not get that wrong. It's nice to have a form of entertainment, and because this is a way for some people to actually rewind and to dwindle down from the day. But then if you are someone that you spend your entire time, your entire being on things that make no sense, then you really need to check yourself. This thing I'm doing, how beneficial would it be to my life? Let's say 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 3 years from now. Am I actually changing? Is anything actually going to contribute to my life from this useless talk I'm talking about? So these are things that are also really important. Another thing I would mention is reflection. As I mentioned, you need to be honest to yourself. No one can lie to you. You have to know yourself by yourself, because you're the only one that truly knows you. Even if people think that they know you, no one knows you better than you. So you need to be honest with yourself and reflect. So maybe you had a goal that you had set for something. You need to ask yourself, have I actually truly gotten to this goal? Or am I just deceiving myself and the people around me that everything is working out fine when I know that maybe I can't pay for my basic necessities, or there are things I was meant to have already gotten to, and I haven't even worked towards doing anything about it at all. So you need to be honest with yourself and reflect eternally, just to make sure that you can come out of that mediocrity and just staying comfortable in the zone that you have been in. So it's important as us, as I wrap up this episode and as I wrap up season 2 this season, it's important for us to remember that it's okay to be uncomfortable. Little discomfort is always great for the greater good, or it's always awesome for the greater good, because you know what your end goal is going to be, you know where you want to get to from there. So try to embrace being uncomfortable, try to embrace discomfort, especially because you know what your end result is going to be. Sacrificing certain things, experiences for a project you want to do may end up being something that ends up benefiting you, or sacrificing certain food because you know the end goal of where you want to get to. You're sacrificing, what else could you sacrifice? There's so many things you can sacrifice, from entertainment to personal experiences. These are some things we can sacrifice. So it's like delayed gratification. You know what the final goal is going to be. And so you're going to deprive yourself from this thing temporarily because you know what your end goal is going to be in. As I've come to the end of this episode and this season, I would just like to thank you all for tuning in every Wednesday to listen in, to watch or listen, because Spotify now has the video option, and I'm sure some other platforms too. But then for those who watch on YouTube, thank you so much for always tuning in. For those who listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, it's actually on every streaming platform. But wherever you're listening to the Youth Have a Voice podcast from, I would just like to thank you all for listening in, watching in, and supporting this journey. I'm hoping that season 3 will be even greater, even better, more stories to be shared, and I think something we're going to do in season three also is that we're going to expand to even beyond the diaspora, youth from other countries, other continents, because so many young people are doing amazing things. We're still going to be a huge focus on Africa, but we're going to see how we can expand to other continents and countries so that you can actually hear the stories of people globally. Because I've noticed that we actually have a global audience of people listening to us. So that's something that would definitely be put into consideration for season three. On that note, I would like to thank you very much for tuning into today's episode. Thank you for tuning into this season. It's been lovely doing this with you. Once again, my name is Feolami Awe-Joseph. I am the host of the Youth Have a Voice podcast. If you liked this episode, even if you didn't like it, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Share to your family members, your friends, your enemies, and everyone involved. And I will see you in season three and on social media because we will still be engaging there. Goodbye.